We like to call it the Supernatural Hour. And now, our hosts.
Hey everybody, welcome back. We are back for the Supernatural Hour. Deanna's back. Yay!
Hello, I'm back.
We also have Silent Dawn.
Hello.
We have Beaker.
What's happening?
And then providing silent support today is Peaches. She's just watching us and making funny faces at us while we record. Let's talk recent investigations. I know that you've had a bunch, and by a bunch I mean a bunch, of residential investigations since we have last had you on the show. Tell us what you have.
Oh my gosh, I have been, October was about 3 days long, suddenly it was November. I have had so many. If I talked about every single one of them, we would be here all night and we couldn't get to our main topic. So I kind of want to just touch on two. And I actually want Tim to talk about the one that he came on me with, because it seemed like you really resonated with the homeowner.
I did?
It did, yeah. I just kind of sat back and...
Brandy did most of the talking. No, we kind of explained to her what was in the home. She had, there was a female spirit that was in the home that she heard screaming every now and then, and what we found out through Peaches was that the spirit like really connected with the homeowner, and she was just trying to do stuff to kind of get her attention and let her know that she was there. There was also a couple type 2s that were in the basement, and that's all that I really picked up on. I couldn't really feel the energy on the other spirits, but I could feel like what I felt was kind of like frustration or anxiety. And at first, like, Peaches was like, no, they're a couple like frat dudes, and they're just like, you know, messing around and, you know, having fun, and they think it's fun to like push people's buttons and stuff like that. And, you know, we explained that to the homeowner, kind of like what these spirits were like, and we kind of explained to her what our options were. And so finally she decided that we were going to clear the spirits out of the home. And so we went down to the room that they were in, and Peaches had me light some sage to kind of ward the spirits out of the home. And it was funny because, like, as I lit the sage, that's where the feeling of like frustration and anxiety started coming from the spirits, because they were just being stubborn and didn't want to leave. It got to the point where I literally just started, Brandy, where are they at? And she'd point, and I would hold the sage right where they were at until he finally just left the house. But we were able to get the spirits out, and we were able to take care of the situation, so she shouldn't be having any more problems.
So other than the screaming, what kind of issues was she dealing with prior to contacting us?
She had said that right outside of her bedroom was a little balcony, and she had some patio furniture on there, and it would sound like the patio furniture was, you know, being knocked all around. She would hear knocking. She had the blankets ripped off her one night as she was getting in bed. And that's the only thing I can remember that she said.
Yeah, I didn't really catch too much of what was going on because we got there a little bit late.
Yeah, but that one was fun. But every once in a while, you know, every residential we do is important, and you know, every time we go and you know, we help people, and we help people understand what's in their home and what's going on, and deal with it with, you know, the way that they're most comfortable with. But every once in a while, one just really stands out, and one that stands out to me might not stand out to Tim, and one that stands out to Brandy might not stand out to Cass. I mean, you know, it just kind of depends. But we went on one this last Wednesday, and for me, it was one of the more rewarding ones I've ever been on. The homeowner was just literally in tears, and she was just terrified that, you know, I mean, at one point she said, I would much rather that this stayed here with me than follow you home. I mean, she was very concerned about our safety as a team. And we went in, and this is something that she has been dealing with for years. Has to do with some family issues that were going on in the home, and you know, heaviness and shadows, and she would hear knocking. And as far as actual activity, you know, no bells and whistles, but just she was so emotional over the whole thing. You could tell it was really taking a toll on her. So when we got there, it was me and Silent Dawn, and then 2 investigators, and so there's 2 men, 2 women there, and me and the other woman went downstairs because that's where we could feel some energy. And we discovered a portal down there, and there were over 10 spirits just type 1 spirits that were down there that would not go upstairs. And they were just kind of hanging down there, but they refused to go upstairs, so we got that portal closed. And then we went upstairs, and in the upstairs, after we had done some investigating, there were 2 very kind of gnomish, low-level type 3s. And then there was the grandfather of the homeowner. And he had been involved in some nefarious activities, some very negative activities. And, the homeowner was able to get some questions answered. She loved her grandfather, but she was very, very distraught at the activities that he was in.
What activities was he in? Can I ask that?
Child abuse.
Okay.
Not to her. And, she was able to get several questions answered. He wanted to cross over, so we got him crossed over. We got the little gnome type 3s ousted with, salt and sage. And then we found out that her grandmother was with her, and the knocking that she heard was from the grandmother, and the grandmother was trying to tell her that everything was okay and that she was protected, and then she got really emotional about that. And I've never been hugged so hard or so long by someone I have never met before. Very, very loving lady, and that investigation was one that I felt just a connection, and it was very, very rewarding.
And I think we've talked about it on the show before, and it's been a while since I've done a residential. I usually have had such a busy schedule lately, I haven't been able to do them. But that's what makes doing this worthwhile, is being able to go into a home and to help somebody who's dealing with a problem. And I know we've talked about it before, but when we do residential investigations, we don't charge money for that. I mean, it's purely volunteer.
Right, and she was so cute when we were done. She's like, "What do I owe you? What can I do for you?" If we'd asked her to build us a house, she probably would have built us a house. She was so cute.
I could have used a house.
I will call and let her know, hey, if you can build Tim a house.
You
Tim
showed up with the wrong investigation, I guess.
Well, I have a job. That keeps me from doing these investigations. As much as I would love to do the residentials, working the swing shift makes it extremely difficult for me. And it's like, I feel bad that I have to miss out on so much just because, we schedule the investigations what's best for the client when they're available, and it doesn't always work out for me. So, I kind of feel like I'm slacking in that area just because I'm never able to make it to those.
And that's kind of the same boat I'm in, just with my work schedule and everything else I have going on. It's really hard for me to get there to a lot of the residential investigations, but that's what makes them worthwhile, is going in and seeing a difference made in somebody's life. And I wanted to bring up that we don't charge for those, because I don't want people to think, oh, you're just going to take advantage of people who are vulnerable. No, we're not, because we don't charge anything. We go in, we offer a free service, and we help, and that's that.
Well, and I like to give Deanne some credit, because she's got this really good knack of putting together the right team for these investigations. It seems like she just knows who needs to be at each residential before she even gets there, and so she's able to, every time she goes to these houses, she's able to get the problem taken care of.
I say, and we've kind of turned residential stuff completely over to Deanna. She's done an amazing job with it. We all still go in and help, but we've.
I love you guys. Be a pug.
But we essentially said, yeah, get him. And she's done a fantastic job with them. Speaking of investigations, we actually did one last night. It's a government-owned building, so kind of with our policy of not divulging certain locations, we're not going to divulge where specifically. But myself and Tim and a few other people, a few goblins, and some friends actually investigated a public building. What was that sound?
Not me.
I put my phone on vibrate. You just heard vibrations.
EVPs.
I'm picking up good vibrations.
Yay. Anyway, we investigated this public building, and the public building at one point was used as a jail. It served a number of different functions over the years. It's an older building. Tim, I think you figured out when the building was built, didn't you?
No. Okay. Well, they did. Actually, they found the plaque on the outside of the building. It was like 1932.
Yeah, and who knows what was there before. But kind of had some interesting experiences. We had some rookies with us, if you will. Some of the people who were caretakers for the building that night were with us. And we kind of took them around and did some investigating. Found some interesting things out. Tell us a little bit about your experiences that you had there, Tim.
Well, first off, I'm going to tell you, Dark Andy Oliverson from the Park Hoppers podcast, he was like crazy good at picking up energy and pointing out where spirits where they were at. It was kind of weird because I've never really investigated with him before. But we walk into one room and he's like, "Yeah, there's a spirit over there underneath the table." And through our investigation, we were actually able to confirm that. And I was able to actually get the spirit's name. I found out she was a little girl, about 8 or 9 years old, and her name was Elizabeth. And if I remember correctly, she kind of thought that the owner's wife reminded her of her mom somehow, and so she felt like kind of safe in the building because I guess she's always there. And it was funny is because like the lady asked us at one time, I guess she was in the restroom and the sink went on by itself, and I guess we were able to confirm that it was the little girl's spirit was in there washing her hands, I guess, or she just setting off the sink or whatever. But I could be wrong on this because I'm still trying to learn how to investigate using my body and my senses, my intuition and stuff like that, and just the information that comes to me. So I know it's not always 100% accurate, but I kind of got the impression that like the way this little girl died was like she was smothered, like someone put a pillow over her face and just smothered her. And from what I got, it was her uncle that did this, and which leads me into the next. We're going to kind of skip around on the list here, but it brings me to one of the
that list I gave you of activity you had last night. It's in no particular order. I just wrote down notes of what I remember from last night, so I'll skip away.
So she kept referring to him, from what I was getting, was she referred to this man as the bad man, because he reminded her of her uncle that had killed her. And this was I believe, it was the spirit that, the child molester spirit.
Which was interesting because I actually picked up on that. We're in different parts of the building. I was upstairs on the stage of this particular building and was talking to a spirit, which basically told me that it was a male spirit that had been imprisoned there. He had been a child molester, and the information I had, and I don't know if you've had a chance to talk with Peaches with this. Keep in mind, what I get isn't always 100% accurate when we get Peaches in there, but it can sometimes be pretty close with the equipment. But basically said that he'd been killed in there by another inmate while he was incarcerated. But we kind of determined that this child molester that I was talking to was the same.
Was the bad man that the little girl was afraid of.
Which is kind of interesting to kind of compare notes and see that we were basically talking about the same person.
Yeah, well, the other thing I thought was interesting too was some of the investigators in the women's dressing room kept feeling that there was a spirit in there, and it was funny because like we actually drove past the building on the way here, and she was actually able to confirm that the window that we thought the spirit was hiding out in was actually still there. But this spirit, he kind of likes to watch the women as they change, and every now and then he'll touch inappropriately. And one of the actresses there was showing me photos of her, like as she was getting her makeup done. And it was funny because I kind of started doing the same thing I do with the crystals. When I'm doing energy healing, I just kind of put my hand out and let the energy kind of pull me to which crystal I need. So I did that with the photo because I'm still kind of learning how to sense energy in photos, or if there is even energy. And so I did that with the photo, and it was funny because in every single photo my hand was drawn to the same picture, the same window. And this is before I even knew that they had already found out which window this spirit liked to hang out in. And I thought it was interesting that I kept pointing to this same window in every picture she showed me, and it turned out to be the exact same window that our investigator Mike had determined that this spirit was hanging out in and watching the actresses.
And it's interesting because after you guys had told me about this, I went into that women's dressing room, and you could definitely feel the energy in there. What was interesting though is I came out and there was like a big Santa Claus throne sitting in the middle of the room, and I was drawn to that thing like nothing happening. And Mike and Terry both came in with their dowsing rods, and I started asking if there's an attachment on the chair, and they both kept getting yes answers. Asked if it was negative. Both their dowsing rods gave no answers. It was interesting having both of them there with their dowsing rods. They're both getting more or less the exact same answer and confirming that there was an attachment on that Santa Claus chair.
I think we ultimately decided that it was residual energy that was attached to the chair. that the spirit that it came with, or that came with the chair, was long gone, but its energy was like still on the chair itself.
Yeah, I picked right up on it though. I mean, it was, which is nice because it's been a while since I've been on an investigation where we've had something like that, and so it's kind of funny because after we all figured it out, Tim was there. I go, yes, still got it.
Yeah, you were all excited. You're asking me about it. Is there energy on that chair? And I just looked at you and I'm like, that's your thing, man. That's not mine. Like, I've never been good at the object attachments.
Yeah, so for me that was kind of nice because it's been a while since I've run across something, so it was kind of a reaffirmation that yes, I can still sense stuff like that.
So I know when we were all locking up and leaving, you guys left a little bit earlier before us, but when I left with the Finleys and everybody else that was there, we didn't really have any issues. Did you have anything go on when you were going home?
Oh, I'm glad you brought that up because I totally forgot. In fact, I actually sent you a text after. When I was walking outside, at the time we thought there might be some Type 3s in that particular building. As I understand, you and Peaches went by and later figured out there were not Type 3s in the building.
There's several Type 2s. I think we thought there was only like 5 or 6 spirits in the building. Apparently there's over a dozen spirits in that building.
So it wouldn't surprise me if there's some Type 2s pretending they're Type 3s or whatnot. But yeah, there was...
Which we've come across before several times.
There was definitely some negative spirits in the building, whether they're Type 2s or Type 3s. But as I was walking out, I saw a dark shadow go shooting right past me. I'd say it was probably about the size of like a hefty garbage bag, like full of leaves, but it wasn't a hefty garbage bag full of leaves. Went shooting right by me and kind of up a building in front of me, up towards the roof. And at that point, I was kind of like, yeah. So I ended up sending you a text, Tim, saying make sure that you cleanse before you go home because of what I'd seen. I couldn't account for a shadow that large moving as fast as it was, how it moved and where it moved.
It was me. No, I'm just kidding.
Tim ate some Taco Bell. He was running into behind the bathroom.
I was running to the Maverick. Had to get me a cheese witch.
But yeah, so that was kind of the ending experience for me for the night, which was interesting to see stuff like that. And I've seen things similar to that at other investigations, but it never ceases to kind of give you one of those wow moments when you see something like that, when you're paying attention and have an experience like that. So that's probably enough for recent investigations. Tim, do you have a stone of the week for us?
Absolutely not. Actually, I do. So I was going down the list of my top 5, and I'm going to kind of change it up a little bit and throw in a stone.
You're going for the bottom 5?
No, so I'm actually going for stone. I had the opportunity yesterday to meet up with some of our friends that we had on the podcast about a year and a half ago, almost 2 years ago. Amanda and Colton, who came on and they did the energy work with Deanna and myself shortly after they went on their walk across the country to raise awareness for suicide prevention. I guess while they were on their walk, they had a baby and they decided to name their son Onyx. And so in honor of them and everything that they went through, and just being able to catch up with them last night, I chose Onyx as my stone of the week, and the reason why, and this is why they named their son Onyx as well. I thought it's really cool because this is a kind of a powerful protective stone, but it also helps. They helped them with their walk and finishing their walk just by choosing the name, and they have so much love for the stone. But this stone actually helps you release any like fear or doubts that you might have in yourself, and it helps you release all of that so you can actually achieve and accomplish the things that you're trying to set out to achieve. And when they told me that they named their son that because of this, and it's what helped them finish their walk across the country, it just kind of really spoke to me. So I wanted to kind of honor them with that and making Onyx the stone of the week.
Excellent. All right, let's move on to weird paranormal news. I've got 2 stories tonight that we're going to talk about. First one is the haunted potato masher. There's a video floating around on YouTube of a woman who inherited her grandmother's potato masher. It's an old wooden potato masher, and the woman claimed that since she's obtained this potato masher, that it moves on its own, and she hears creepy voices and things of that in her apartment. She actually filmed the potato masher on the counter, kind of spinning and wobbling around. She said she filmed it, then didn't look at the video for a couple days before going back to actually look at the video and see what's going on. She said because of the cursed potato masher, she's going to hang on to it because she doesn't want anybody else to have the cursed potato masher and have the paranormal experiences that she's had and the fear and the creepiness. Now, I have had a chance to have everybody here take a peek at the video of the haunted potato masher, because you can go, you can YouTube this stuff. Just Google haunted potato masher and you can watch the video. So let's kind of go around the room, just get an opinion real quick, and let's start with Deanne. Deanne, what is your opinion on the haunted potato masher?
So my opinion was false because the movement of it seemed too regular.
Okay, Don?
Yeah, there's nothing, not a real feel for it at all.
Tim?
I mean, there was so much energy coming off of that potato masher. I mean, to me, it seemed totally legit.
You're so
If you no, the way it was moving, every time it was moving very erratic, which is not normal when it comes to something moving, in my experience, anyways. And the other thing that kind of caught my attention is every time the potato masher kind of started to settle down, and it would start up again, it would always start up in the exact same direction as if it was being pulled by a string. It never started up in a different direction. It was always starting in the same direction.
Well, and what was interesting too is the video was very low quality. It was probably like a 360K. I mean, it was, and so it'd be real easy to hide a string in a video of that poor quality.
Well, I mean, this was also sitting on what looked like a bar, so anyone could have easily been ducking down behind this counter.
Right. So for the verdict, we actually had Peaches look at the video, and Tim looked at it too and used his psychic abilities for.
I didn't feel any energy off of that at all.
Yeah, and Peaches confirmed there was no energy, so it does look like it is faked. So unfortunately, the haunted potato masher, we'll have to find another haunted potato masher because that one is clearly not legit. Second story I have for us tonight. This was actually on national news. I don't know if any of you guys saw about the bones of the 57-year-old mystery. But back in 1961, George Carroll disappeared from his house. And his children have spent the last 57 years trying to find him. It got to a point where they actually brought in a psychic, and they had the psychic come in, and the psychic came into the basement and basically said he's buried right there. They started digging.
I know someone else that could have done that.
I do too, which is why I thought that Peaches would be interested in this particular story. But they started digging where she indicated, and I'll be darned if they didn't find the bones of their father, who's been missing for the last 57 years. Interestingly enough, the children all suspect that their sweet mother probably killed their father and buried him in the basement. But mother has since passed away, and so it'll remain a mystery as far as exactly what happened and how it happened. But I thought that was interesting because we did have that investigation years ago down in Payson, Utah, where the family said that there was a tombstone in their backyard that they'd removed, and they told me this, but they hadn't told anybody else in the team this. And when Peaches showed up, she indicated right where in the yard there was a body buried, which is where they had removed this tombstone. They just thought it would have been placed there kind of as a decoration or a gag or something like that. So we do know that Peaches can do the same thing. She can locate bodies. So if you have a body that you think is missing in your basement, give us a call. We'll see what we can do.
We'll schedule an appointment.
All right, so
You know what else I found fascinating? I know everyone's been talking about this show on Netflix, the show that's supposedly so scary that people are passing out. I've had a chance to watch it. Peaches has watched it. The Finleys have watched it, and it's an excellent show. And if you get a chance, go watch it. It's called The Haunting of Hill House.
it's pretty good.
It's phenomenal. It's got a great storyline. And Peaches has actually posted a story on our Facebook page about the house that was used to film the outside shots. The actual home that they used for the series is in itself haunted.
Interesting.
Interesting. I'd be curious to know where the exact home is, and it would be a fun one to investigate. If you look at the outside of that home, it looks super creepy.
Yeah, all the shots they use for the outside, the actual homeowners I believe have come forward and said that they've actually had activity in the house.
And everybody have a good night.
Good night.
You've been listening to the Supernatural Hour at AdvancedParanormal.com. The Supernatural Hour is part of the Radio Ronin network found at RadioRonin.com. Copyright 2021 by Advanced Paranormal Services.